Oh, how you doing, Adrian? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Bobby the Bear. Good to see you today.
I am so excited because a lot of people don't know this, but at Bobby the Bear Industries, we are taking over the world of social media, and we have to deal with things like supply chain issues and warehouses. And Adrian is our expert, our internal expert, executive guide guru for all things supply chain and warehouse oriented.
Awesome.
So
So what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, let's break this down for other people, right? Um, what the hell is a supply chain?
Yeah. So supply chain is, if you want to put it in food terms, it's everything to get it from farm to table.
Okay.
So if we're consumers, I bought something. Okay, it has to be delivered to my house. That's
Right.
last mile. It came from a distribution center
Right.
or a fulfillment center. That's middle mile.
Got
It was purchased somewhere, sometimes overseas.
it. Okay.
That's first mile. But even then, you go a little bit further and say, okay, the part that they supplied, where did they get that from? What are the raw materials? And then even one step further, where do they actually get these natural resources from?
Right.
So,
So we already know one problem right off the bat, right? So if it's in the U.S., it's the first mile, but it's not the first kilometer. And you got to be international. It's the first kilometer or the last kilometer, right? So we already know that because the U.S. didn't go to the metric system, we already have a problem there, right? So that's a big problem, right?
yep.
So what you're saying is my Oreos, when I buy a package of Oreos, my Oreos first have to be grown. This is farm to table, right? They have to be farmed, right? The Oreos have to be farmed.
Yep.
Okay. And then they go where? Where do the Oreos go?
Well, the Oreos go into um, they go into a package. That package goes into a big box. That big
Okay.
box goes onto a pallet. That pallet goes into a truck that goes to a big warehouse, and then it
Okay.
starts to go in the reverse order:
Gotcha. Gotcha.
smaller store, house, so on and so forth.
Now
And
then
then
when
it now.
okay, so then when we're at the warehouse, which
Mhm.
in my experience of watching films, nothing ever good happens in a warehouse. Everybody either gets killed or they get shot or they get kidnapped. That's what I know about warehouses. So, is there any positive things that happen in warehouses?
Yeah, I think warehouses are one of the most predictable things out there. I used to get asked, Adrian, what shape is the warehouse in today? I said it's a rectangle. So number one, right there, um, it's predictable, right?
Go.
So you should have a certain amount of orders each day, and then you can always work ahead. But you know that you're going to work a 10, 12-hour shift. You know which days of the week you're going to work. Um, the columns are 50 feet apart. The ceiling's 30 feet high. It's for the most part, if it's not climate controlled, it's going to feel like an extreme version of what the outside feels like. So it's much colder in the winter than
Gotcha.
outside. It can be much hotter than outside in the summertime.
So then at the warehouse, one of three things happens, right? My Oreos either get crushed by somebody that's mad because they're not happy with the amount of money they're making at the warehouse, so they crush my Oreos, or they get stolen, or they get shipped out perfectly, right? Those are the only three things that tend to happen, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much correct. I can tell you why people get frustrated.
Yeah, talk to
Uh,
me about that because I think that's the thing, right? That's the big problem.
so number one, what I've seen before inside of a warehouse is unequal wages.
Uh huh.
Like
That
there was
can't
a
be
place.
good. That can't be good.
No, it's not. So I saw where one person was with the company 3 years, where starting pay was like 11.50, and they were maybe at like 12.25, and then we raised the entry level pay rate to $15. So now you have people that have been there 90 days making $15, and somebody who's been there 3 years who's making 12. And
Gotcha.
even when we raised them up to 15, we gave them like 15.50. So it's like, wait a minute, this guy got a 50-cent raise after 6 months, and we're both making 15.50, and still he's only been here 90 days or 6 months, and I've been here for 3 years. So I would say making sure everybody is compensated fairly
Uh huh.
is, is gigantic.
We do that with all the bears. With all the bears we hire, we pay them in honey. And we find that works well because if they get too much honey, then they start to pass out, and then we replace them with people that won't, that aren't stuck on the honey. Our biggest
Awesome.
problem with the Bears is the diabetic coma, but that's okay. We're working on that. So you've worked for everybody, right? Who have you worked for?
Yeah. So I've worked for FedEx Ground. I worked for UPS.
Uh-huh.
I worked for Walmart. I worked for Target. I
Uh-huh.
worked for Amazon. I
Uh-huh.
worked for Nike,
Uh-huh.
General Produce, Club Chef, and Luxottica. And now I'm a consultant. So
That's right. So you consult what tell everybody what you consult on so in case they want to reach out to you.
I consult small and medium sized warehouses who want to be medium and large size warehouses.
Gotcha. So, and do you shoot any movies in the warehouses or no?
I can. I have a couple of videos for myself, but that's my private collection.
Okay, there you go. That's good. What's the worst thing you've seen happen in a warehouse?
Uh, the worst thing I saw in a warehouse was it was actually in the yard,
Okay.
um, where two employees, two drivers got into an argument, and there was some workplace violence. So
Not good. Not good.
yeah.
You should not have MMA fighting at the warehouse. What's the
Oh,
best?
this was
Was
it
it
was
bad?
more like Mortal Kombat. So it was they had some assistance. It wasn't just hand to
That's not good. And what's the best thing that you've seen happen in a warehouse?
hand. The best thing I've seen happen in the warehouse is when people were able to explain to their managers
Gotcha.
what the best solution was, and
Right.
not just say, "Hey, it's the situation." Say, "Hey, here's how to make the situation better, specifically this, that, the other," and they would say, "Hey, here's where I learned this from. Here's what they did on this shift, and it worked great. Can we try it here?"
Well, that's awesome. I hope this helps a lot of people, and I'm glad you're on our team because we know that we won't have any problems. So
Awesome.
that's really the key. So thanks for coming on the show and talking to me.
Hey, anytime, Bobby.
You got it.